You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
Hello, 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 out there in podcast land. You have reached Johnny Has the Keys, where we talk about horror movies and science fiction films and those key elements that help lift them above the average genre fare. A little tongue-tied there. I am here with my good friend, David Horton. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing well, Tim. How are you?
I am splendid.
Splendid? Really?
Yeah, just, moving along, doing my thing.
Splendid. Yep.
What's been going on in your week this week?
Nothing crazy has been going on. All I'm doing is like amassing a huge list of things I have to watch. We had talked, I think, a couple of weeks ago about the new Ridley Scott series on HBO about the robot mom and everything. No, not Mother. That's the movie that's on Netflix. The series is called something else, and I can't remember it right now, but it's on
something
my
about
list.
wolves.
Raised by Wolves.
Aren't they both series, or is Mother a movie?
Mother's just a movie with Hilary Swank.
Oh,
and it's good actually. I watched it.
Okay.
But I want to see that. I want to see Away, which is another female-oriented series that just got canceled.
Maybe that's what I was confusing with Hilary Swank. I was thinking she was in Away.
Well, she is in Away, but before that, she was in the movie. The
Mother.
The Mother. Yeah.
Are they related?
No, I don't think
okay, so they're just she just happens to be in both of them.
Right.
Oh man, they are really working my nerves.
And I think I'm right. I'll have to check it, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Hilary Swank is in the one Away, which is a series about a mission to Mars.
Right.
Mother is about a little girl who wakes up and realizes, that she's being raised by a robot, essentially, and this robot is the one that essentially is trying to save humanity. It's like WALL-E meets, an embryo project. She's the last one. WALL-E meets Passenger or whatever.
I haven't
and it's
seen
pretty
Passenger.
good.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
It's got pretty people in it.
It does have pretty people in it. There's some good sex scenes in it. The overall
hubba.
The overall production design is absolutely terrible because you would really waste that much space on a spaceship. Because literally it's like gymnasium size rooms and stuff like that. You're going, no, just would not be worth it. Okay. But there is one thing interesting. You should watch Passenger and then read there's an essay or a review where a guy says, okay, take like the last 30 minutes of the movie and insert it like in the middle, right before the middle, and then watch the whole movie, and it suddenly becomes a totally different genre. And you'll understand when you watch the movie. You should watch it. It's really good. It's a pretty good example of that. That makes the movie good.
Yeah. The power of editing.
And then my last thing was I started, and it may have been because we were doing this podcast, but I started watching the Challenger documentary. There's one on Netflix that's a Challenger documentary. It's like a 6-part. And
I think I was living with you when that blew up.
It's just increasingly sad watching the documentary because it goes throughout the whole, huge campaign for who's going to be our real life astronaut. Reagan decides it's going to be a teacher. How do they pick a teacher? They narrow it down to 10. They pick her, then all the training. And then at the same time, they're showing all this very, very, very optimistic, I'm going to be a teacher in space and talk to my kids. They're showing Morton Thiokol with all of their reports saying, no, we had O-ring failures. We were lucky the past 2 shuttles have even survived. we can't launch. And then you got the government going, you have to launch. You promised us 16 launches a year and you're only doing 9,
Wow.
so you have to do it. And all the pressure mounting and everything. Oh, it's
That's
so
horrible.
depressing.
I don't want
So
to watch
depressing.
that.
Yeah. It will depress you, but there you go. What have you been doing? Hopefully not something that depressing.
Oh, I was going to ask you, out of your the list you're amassing, what are you looking forward to the most?
Bly Manor.
What?
Bly Manor, actually, because I still haven't watched it.
Okay. Yeah. I highly recommend that. I
think I told you I watched the first like 5 minutes and heard the music and went, no, I'm just gonna have to set aside a weekend and watch this whole thing.
I talked to a friend this weekend. He actually listens to this podcast, and he was a little bit disappointed with it. And I don't know. I have nothing but good things to say about it. It is not Hill House. It is a different show. It is second season. Yeah, I think it's good. I don't have a problem with it. It's a different kind of ghost story. I don't like Henry James as much as I like Shirley Jackson.
Right.
So naturally, I like Hill House better.
There's more atmosphere to James than there is to Jackson, in my opinion.
Well, it's
hers
Victorian.
is more
character.
His is more poetic, yada yada. So it seems like he would take a different tact on it, which is fine.
It makes me think, it's like when people do different kinds of zombie movies or different kinds of vampire movies.
Yeah.
This is a different kind of ghost movie. There are, and I'm wondering if Flanagan's going to be typecast as a ghost director, because he's done these 2 properties and the Shining sequel, which is a ghost story.
Right.
So, I don't have a problem with it. And The Conjuring, I don't know or not The Conjuring. What else? He did some of those other smaller movies back in the day. And
Oculus, didn't he do that?
Oculus was about a haunted mirror. Yes. So
he's a ghost director.
He's a ghost director.
Oh, I was going to ask you though, have you seen the trailer for The Stand? The new one?
Yeah, I saw you posted it. I think I saw what you posted, or you shared it with me or something.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that the last image was somebody standing on top of their van. It reminded me of you. But
really? Why?
Isn't your teaser trailer for your sequel a van? Aren't they in a van? Our big RV?
Oh, it's an RV. You're talking about the book.
Big RV.
Yeah,
the book.
Yeah. It's an RV.
Yeah, so that's what it kind of reminded me of. They're standing on top of an RV sort of thing. What did you think of the trailer? Did you like it?
I thought it looked pretty good. Yeah, it looks like a good update. It's hard to change that story. You really can't change that story.
Well, I don't think you should. I think you should. I think it all depends on what are they going to focus on. And, really, quite honestly, I did not mind the miniseries that much. It's one of, I wanted to talk to you about it because it's kind of odd, because it's one of those where the original is so kind of iconic now that I associate those characters with those people. And now you watch a new version of it and I'm kind of going, wait, that's not Rob Lowe. Wait.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's not Gary Sinise or Molly Ringwald.
That is not Gary Sinise. And where's Molly Ringwald? Yes, I was doing the same thing.
Yeah. Stephen King's stuff does kind of become an entity in its own in some regards. Pet Sematary could be that way a little bit too.
Oh, see, I haven't seen the new one. So
yeah, and it's it's like great the first like 20 or 30 minutes, and then it makes a hard right and it just never comes back.
I remember you telling me that, but it doesn't come back. So what about you? What have you been doing? I'm sorry.
Well, I told you, I have been absolutely fascinated with the Turner Classic Movies app. And it's so weird because I pay, for like 4 or 5 streaming services, and yet I'm obsessed with the one that's free.
Good.
And they have had a lot of, after Halloween, they had a lot of horror movies on, and those movies stayed on throughout, like months after. and some are still there. I caught a movie that we watched the remake of called Mystery of the Wax Museum. We watched House of Wax. Mystery of the Wax Museum, I can't remember the exact year. It was 1933, and starred Fay Wray. I can't remember who else. Not a lot of other people were tied to it. I think Lionel Atwill. Some of these people, you people won't know those names. But anyway, Fay Wray is the main name that would stick out. But what I found fascinating is that it was a missing film, similar to London After Midnight, which I'm obsessed with. It's a Lon Chaney movie that's missing. And they found a copy of it several years back in Jack Warner's vault. And it was like an original print, but it had mold really badly in it. And apparently UCLA and some film foundation got together and painstakingly restored this to is it 32 millimeter aspect, whatever the big one is.
Well, 35 is what they
maybe it's 35. I don't, the film tech stuff.
But it wouldn't be 70, so it'd be 35 and 32.
Right. And let me tell you, it's in color. It was done with an original, the red and green Technicolor.
Yeah.
And
same thing as Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. And it is gorgeous. You would not believe this movie was made in 1933. I was shocked at how good it looked.
Okay.
And but you also would not believe that it is almost identical to the House of Wax we watched with Vincent Price, the story and everything. They even have that that body sit up in the morgue and that guy go, oh yeah, it's just a formaldehyde.
Oh, okay.
It was hilarious. So but I highly recommend it. I was just blown away that how good it looked and that they had gone to all that trouble and restored it. So
wow. Okay.
So Fay Wray. I saw another Fay Wray too. Oh, I watched The Most Dangerous Game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I watched the trailer again. I just caught it. I'm scrolling online for whatever that movie is. It's not okay. You know how, and we talked about before, there's always seems to be that kind of thing where, one movie comes out about a topic and suddenly another movie comes out a few months either earlier or after, and it's the same kind of topic. Whether it's Arrival or whether it's Interstellar or, monkeys are big this year, let's do a monkey movie, kind of thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. These two came out and one was like Till Death Do Us Part or something like that. It was about a wife getting ready to get married and then realizes that the whole family she's marrying into hunts each other on the eve of the wedding or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't think that's the name of it, but I do. I can't think of the girl that's in it. Well, she's an up and comer. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's gotten pretty good buzz.
There was another one that came out and it looks like a rural redneck purge version of that, which is like or version of that meets Hunger Games. But basically it's a bunch of people who wake up and they're all gagged and they have to run to this field where all these weapons are in the center of it, and they have to grab a weapon and they have to survive the night kind of thing. A 24-hour survival, most dangerous game kind of feel to it.
Okay.
But I've seen the trailer for it like 4 times. And I don't know the name of it, but it reminded me of Most Dangerous Game, ironically, because it's that same kind of thing, only, gorier, bigger, broader, whatever.
Right. The thing I found fascinating about Dangerous Game was that it was filmed on the same sets and simultaneously with the original King Kong. They even run across that giant log that goes across that canyon that's in King Kong. And Fay Wray's in both. So I was like, wow. So that was kind of
Well, one, she only had to really scream and jerk around on ropes. The other one, she actually had dialogue.
yeah.
So,
Well, she does do some really bad overacting when she's trying to allude to the fact that they're in danger, and he's talking to this guy that's going to eventually hunt him. She's like, her eyes are like really big, and she's like doing everything but pointing at the guy.
yeah.
But you know, I mean, that is some of these movies I watch because they get so highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes, and that one got 100 on it on Rotten Tomatoes. Most Dangerous Game. It's only an hour and a minute long. I love these really short movies. They're awesome. You can watch like 4 in a row.
It's interesting. The very briefly lived movie app for your phone, Quibi, that was out for a few months. Their big promising story starred Christoph Waltz, the guy from
the German Tarantino film,
right?
Something Bastards,
Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah,
it starred him and Hemsworth, Thor, and they're doing a modern adaptation of Most Dangerous Game.
Interesting.
And it's done in these little 5-minute scenes. And you just
they should just make it
minutes.
into a big movie.
They should, because it was brilliant. The idea at the beginning was great because basically Hemsworth has just been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he has like 6 months to live. But he's a father, 2 kids, all this. And Weitz finds out about him, and he's referenced through a guy from the hospital, who's obviously, the ambulance chaser, headhunter kind of thing, who says, call this number if you need help. So he calls up Weitz. Weitz is this big investment banker. And basically they have this great scene where would you like a drink? Here, have a drink. Let's talk. The way he does those scenes that he does where he's so calm and nice, and he's going, I work for a collection of people, and we're willing to pay a lot of money to someone for a game, let's say, blah, blah, blah. And basically he gives them the whole thing. And it's like, it's like $50 million if he it starts out at 10 million, but each hour they add $100,000 that he survives. So if he can survive the first hour, his family will make 10 million. If for every hour after that, he'll make more.
When does it end?
It ends in 24 hours. He has to survive a day.
Okay.
So he has a day.
That's exact as Dangerous Game.
Right. And it's the same sort of thing. It's
sun up to sun up.
And I didn't watch the whole thing. I just watched the first 15 minutes of it. I was going, this should be a movie. It was so good. Because they had all these restrictions. Like, he had this set area. He could not leave the city limits. And it was like a big metro area like Chicago or somewhere. But he couldn't leave the city limits. They give him a phone. He has to keep it with him the entire time, and he has to keep it on, which means he's always GPS tracked.
I was going to say, man, that's not fair.
That's not fair, but that's the way the game goes. You want to do it or not? Kind of thing. It was really interesting. It was a good setup. But
not
classic literature. Classic.
Right.
But that's based on a novel, isn't it? Isn't Most Dangerous Game a novel first or a short story?
I think it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
And I want to say, I can't remember if it's someone like Doyle or not.
I don't think it's Doyle, but it might be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway.
Anyway, and not to have any spoilers, but we may or may not be covering a film this season that is very closely related to both that and the Hunger Games. So
we might.
Wonder what that is.
Or might not. You never know.
Nope. So what we are talking about today is a little science fiction movie, or should I say a big science fiction movie, really. It was huge when it came out.
It was.
Yep. Do you want to take that from me, or do you want me to go ahead?
Sure. No, we are talking about 2013's Gravity, which I will start out by the very beginning and say probably not the best title. In my opinion, but
I think it's a great title.
Oh, really? We'll have to discuss it. It was directed by Alfonso Cuaron It was written by Cuaron and Jonas Cuaron, who I'm assuming is probably his son,
Is
and stars Sandra Bullock, George Clooney, and basically the voice of Ed Harris, and like two other people that you only see briefly and don't care about. But the story, in a nutshell, is extremely simplistic. It basically is.
yeah, it's my kind of story.
Dr. Ryan Stone and Matt Kowalsky are two astronauts. She is actually a medical engineer who is just a new mission specialist. He is a very tenured veteran astronaut. Both of them are basically taking a spacewalk to repair the Hubble telescope, and they end up encountering a disaster with debris from various satellites that end up destroying the shuttle and forcing them to try to make it to the International Space Station and beyond. And basically the entire movie is Sandra Bullock or Ryan Stone's struggle with survival and whether or not she will survive or not. You know,
Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride.
It is. It is crazy. You said it starts like you like. Did you like this movie?
I love this movie.
Had you seen it before?
I had. I saw it
Okay.
when it first came out on DVD.
Okay.
Or I guess streaming, whatever I was doing at the time.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we rented it because Dennis actually watched it with me because of the award buzz.
Okay.
And he likes Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
I don't know, a million things to say about this movie. The tagline was originally "Don't Let Go." Had I come up with the tagline, it would have been "In space, no one can hear you." Period.
Oh, it just stopped. Yeah.
Because, you know, Alien was "no one can hear you scream," but in space, no one can hear you.
Interesting. Since the very first time I saw this, I would have called it "In the Blind." I think that would have been the best title for this movie.
Really?
Because it would have intrigued people to go, what is that about? And what does that phrase even mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you know very clearly once you watch the movie what it means.
Yeah.
And they are in the blind after the first 12 minutes. So it's kind of interesting that I would have chosen that. I don't think Gravity is an accurate descriptive title.
Oh, I think it's perfectly accurate.
It's more like Orbit than Gravity.
Well, no, you're looking at the word gravity as in what brings us down to Earth.
Yeah,
gravity
physics,
also
lad,
means critical situation.
Oh, okay. I could give you that one.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah,
and it is, and it becomes critical within the first shot because that first shot's like 13 minutes long. And it's pretty critical throughout the rest of the film. As a matter of fact, I would say this movie is harrowing. And both times I watched it, I was constantly gripping my armrest saying, "Oh, fuck, oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Shit." It is that crazy.
It is not a horror movie, but it is extremely suspenseful.
It is stressful.
Yes, it will. I've talked to people who could not watch the entire movie just because they got motion sick. I've talked to people who, even though they survived the movie, said, "I'm not going to watch it again because I was just like the entire time." And I go, "Yeah, you basically are."
Yeah, I couldn't remember that I was that keyed up from the first one. So when I watched it again the other day, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, now I remember."
Well, you're right. I mean, from the time of the accident, it just does not stop. But it does take breath moments. It does what I've kept saying from a storytelling standpoint, a movie making standpoint. If you don't let audiences breathe, then you just ruin your pacing, in my opinion. And this does have a couple of those moments of those breaths, just enough before another huge cascade of crap happens. You know. So it's
and the plausibility is probably out there a little bit, I would think. I mean, going from space station to space station, I would think that would be a little hard.
I actually liked the science of it.
Yeah.
I liked the physics that they employ. I was going to say, you know, one of my first keys is this is very similar to The Expanse in the fact that it treats space very realistically with what space would be. You know, there are times when there is no sound whatsoever because there would not be any sound.
Right.
I love the fact that all of the explosions or crashes or whatever have no sound
That's awesome.
because
Yeah.
you wouldn't hear them, and they intentionally did that as filmmakers. The use of trying to establish inertia and how inertia changes, and it can pull things off course, and you've got to be careful. And I mean, I love the little simple thing of, oh, I see a fire. I pick up a fire extinguisher. I use it. It will knock me unconscious. I will go to the far
You go
wall.
blasting back.
Yes, yes. I thought that was great.
Mhm.
I do think they take liberties a few times. Yes, I agree. I think that the countdown to her oxygen and then the amount of CO2 that she would have in her suit is probably pulled a little bit too long.
Mhm.
She would probably have died before, or at least passed out before she could have gotten in. And she survives a huge gust from all three airlocks that she
Where it
and
looks like she
still
would just go
holds on.
flying off in outer
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
And still holds on. I go, no, that would break her arm off. The same way, like in Alien, I always say, or Aliens especially, she's holding on to the airlock, and the mama alien has her leg being pulled out the airlock.
Right.
I go,
Right.
no, it would rip her arm off.
Right. But I mean, aren't those airlocks? Is it because she didn't?
Purge them.
Okay, I was going to say she must not have done something first because they normally wouldn't fly open like that, would they?
No, they would just kind of open up normal because
Right.
there would be no pressure inside.
Yeah.
But all three times she goes to
I mean, I'm
decompress,
like, there's no way she would hang
oh,
on. She would go flying. Yeah.
oh yeah, she'd be gone. But you know, other than that, I think the science works really well. I think using the retro rockets works really well. I think the plausibility of, well, definitely the actual accident itself has been theorized and is a big fear of a lot of the space program, not only ours, but China's, India's, everybody's, which is everybody's launching satellites now and putting them up in orbit. If one ends up hitting another one, it could create a cascade effect. And it's actually called the Kessler Cascade based on a scientist, a NASA scientist, who came up with that whole idea of,
Well, and all
once
that
it
junk
starts, it
would
probably
stay.
won't stop.
Yeah. It would just stay orbiting our planet, right? It's like a little junk
Correct.
field.
Until it either, if it was above, you know, if it was, you know, in orbit, it would stay in orbit. Unless it's hit by something else and then knocked into the atmosphere, and then it would burn up like meteorite.
Right.
Like at the end of the movie, you know, it shows all those things, meteorites falling. But yeah, it could potentially, you know, keep us grounded on Earth for decades until we figured out a way to get rid of all the debris.
Yeah.
Because even a small little bolt, you know, an inch wide, would be like a bullet. And in space, that's not a good thing. Bullets not a good thing in space. No.
Bullets aren't good anywhere.
Because they don't stop. Yeah.
You should probably give us a little synopsis. I don't think we've done that, have we?
Yes, I did that. Remember, I said they were spacewalking when a disaster happened.
Oh, right,
and they had to
okay.
make it to the ISS. And then the was only dreamed of in 2013 kind of thing. I think they had one module, Chinese space station, which hopefully will be fully functional next year in 22.
Okay.
So,
Well, I
or
mean,
22,
you didn't
2 years.
mention Matt's disappearance and all that, did you?
You mean Kowalski's?
Matt Kowalsky, yeah.
Yeah, he basically sacrificed himself for her.
Yeah.
And I do like the inclusion story. If we're talking story-wise, I do like the inclusion later on of her hallucination scene. I think that really works, and it's a cool device.
I read that was Clooney's idea, and he may have even written that scene.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they said that, well, you know, take a step back. This the story was written by Alfonso and his son, and they thought it would take maybe a year and a half to film. It took 4.5, just because of the technology.
Well,
But
some of it
during
they
that-
had to wait on to catch up, didn't they? It kind of
Yeah.
like Terminator 2 and some of the other movies we've talked about where the special effects just weren't there yet.
Well, and a key right there, the reason they could finally do it was because of what James Cameron did with Avatar.
Okay.
And the way he did the motion capture of the people and the way you could put that with such great CGI and make it look photorealistic and all that stuff. So that helped. But it also allowed them time. I mean, Sandra Bullock worked on this movie for 6.5 months of training and everything else.
And she wasn't the original. We'll get to casting later, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, part of it was during that time, they could not figure out a way to really justify Kowalski's death, of him just disappearing. He's gone. Isn't there something else we could do, or blah, blah, blah. And Clooney was the one who had the idea of having the hallucination, and he helped write that thing. You're correct. So, which is great. I mean, but this basically is Sandra Bullock's movie.
Yeah, that's a key actually to my own work now that I think about it. Because
really,
there's
hallucination?
No, there's scenes in this book right here where he thinks it's over and he's about to lose it, and yet there's like either a dream where he gets the idea to do something, or that his inner subconscious starts talking to him and having a conversation with him. Yeah, which is
some of my favorite parts of the book. I love that whole inner dialogue sequence.
Well, you have to. I mean, if you don't have another character, you've got to have something, or it's going to be a little boring. So, but yeah, I didn't even really consider that, but now I do.
Well, and I think, it's another credit to them as writers for this, because, they didn't override it. They had her at times say, okay. It should be the same way. It should be the same way, to hit a button or a thruster or something, but they don't overdo it. Like, okay, first I need to do this, and then I need to do that, and now give me this. And now she wasn't over talking. Which would be very easy to do because she's the only person.
Yeah. This movie won a lot of awards. And she was nominated for several of them, but I don't think I'll get to it, but I don't think she won any major ones. And she's phenomenal in it because she is basically doing all that stuff rehearsed and timed to look that way because in most cases she's in a green room or whatever.
Yes. I mean, for those of you listening or watching or whatever, if you've seen the movie, great. If you haven't, why are you listening? But go back and watch it and come back. But even if you have seen it, go back and watch it again now. And think about this. Other than a few of the weightless scenes where they're on wires, a lot of the photography for this, they're literally just standing up. And the camera is what's going around them to make them move or look like they're upside down or rotating or falling this way and rotating. That's not them doing that. That's the camera actually going around them. And once you kind of look at it that way, you go, what? Really? Huh? But I remember that revelation when I was a kid and realized that that's the way people made spaceships fly. Was they didn't have the thing and make it on a thing and make it move toward the camera. They had it stationary and the camera moved toward it and it looked like it was moving. I went, oh my God. That was a huge revelation for me when I was a kid.
Revelation now.
But yeah, so yeah, she had to be, they ended up building, to go into tech for a second, they ended up building a huge box, a cube that was made out of LEDs so that they could program the lighting of like the earth going around her face or the sun, where the sun was in position to her helmet and everything else. And then in addition to where the camera could move on this great big gimbal to go inside and move around her and everything else. But it took a while to rig her into it and then to get her out of it. And they said she was a trooper, so much so that they started calling it Sandra's cage because she was in it for 10 and 12 hours at a time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Every day you're going to get in a box with a camera. There's a couple of great making of documentaries of this movie people should watch. But one of them, she talks about I'm at the totally at the mercy of the puppeteers if I'm on the wires, or the rigs if I'm on the rig, and the camera guys. And these cameras are literally coming right into my eye. And if it doesn't stop, I don't have a choice. There's nothing else to do. It would just kill me, you know. She basically says, I'm totally at the mercy of this camera is going, whoa, and then moving around her and everything else.
Yeah. Before I move into some of that, as far as scenes and camera work, we would be remiss if we didn't remind our audience that this is the second Alfonso Cuaron movie that we have covered this season. He also did Children of Men, where there were some phenomenally choreographed long shots, you know, upwards of 10 minutes or more. And this movie has its fair share of those too.
Yes. Yes, he structured this movie to have between 12, 8, 7, a couple of 5 minute sequences that are long takes. But I think he's much more effective in this movie than in Children. In Children of Men, you almost start noticing them. You almost start thinking, wow, wait, there's not been a cut. In this one, he uses the choreography so well that you almost feel like it's a different scene. You know what I mean? You
like when Clooney's
like,
buzzing around her in the beginning.
Yeah, that whole opening shot is amazing. I
think it's phenomenal.
In film school. It's just, and I love the fact that he sets up all the precepts of the story, which is you don't know up and down, you don't know left or right. People could be upside down, but they're not really upside down, but you don't really know, and you can't really tell, and they don't really feel it. And just the way he has Clooney zipping around, and then her there, and then the shuttle keeps moving, and then the whole time the Earth's in a different position. It's just crazy.
Well, and he also sets up their characters too in that too. That's all done.
Yes, perfectly written. Yeah. And I have to admit, it's not just the two of them in that scene, because the other, unseen cast member is Ed Harris, who plays the voice of Houston.
Well, and the guy jumping around like an idiot, the Indian guy, I think he's Indian. Yeah.
So, but it's a brilliant opening scene. I think from a screenplay perspective, established, all that stuff you have to do, the exposition, the set the characters, create the initial tension and the conflict.
And all of a sudden the debris, because I mean, that scene's not over by the time they're getting pelted with stuff, right?
Oh, no, the first cut happens when her body goes away from the camera into black.
Right.
Once it goes to black, that's the first cut back to Kowalski.
And that's when you just start. That's
even before then, I'm going, when she's going around on the arm.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
And behind her, you're seeing entire things just shatter into piece. You're going, oh my God.
Have you ever talked to Wendell about this movie?
I have not. I would love to.
I'm curious.
He's such a space guy. But it's just that, and then the ISS destruction is just terrifying. Her trying to get the umbilical off the parachute, and then all of a sudden starts hitting the station, and you're first just seeing the umbrella, the parachute just go a little bit, because it's being hit by stuff. And then all of a sudden that whole solar panel goes and you're going, oh my God, Lord.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah.
You were talking about in Children of Men how you notice some of the long shots more. The two things I noticed in this movie were the opening shot. I was timing it and watching it to see where it ended. But the thing that I marked my watch on was when she gets inside the first time we're halfway through the movie.
Yes.
I mean, I was like, damn, we're right now at the midway point, and she just got inside. She is not floating around.
And I love the fact that this is a great visual cinematic metaphor for their cinematographer. When she's that way and she has to relay that he's dead, and she's the sole survivor, which is like the halfway mark of the movie. Out the window, you can see Earth, and there's the eye of a hurricane
Yeah.
on the planet. I thought that was really, just a nice, subtle kind of,
Punctuation.
oh, wait, he's coming back. The other side, he's coming, So, yeah.
Okay.
But you have casting, I know, for this.
I do.
Because I'm sure there was discussion.
There was. Angelina Jolie was originally cast. She ended up dropping out, I think, because of the time frame. It kept, going on before they could make it. And I could see her doing it, but after seeing it with the two people that are in it, I don't want to see anybody else in this movie. I think they're perfectly cast.
Right, because wasn't Downey Jr. attached to it at one point too?
He was. Downey Jr. was the original, as was Angelina Jolie. However, apparently Natalie Portman turned it down shortly before she announced her pregnancy. So I guess she had to bow out because she was pregnant. And then a lot of other people were tested or approached, including Rachel Weisz, Naomi Watts, Marion Cotillard, Abby Cornish, Carey Mulligan, Sienna Miller, Scarlett Johansson, Blake Lively, Rebecca Hall, and Olivia Wilde. And there are a few in there that stand out to me. Naomi Watts stands out to me.
Watts.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson maybe. But why would they have not gone to Sandra before them? I mean, I would have thought of her.
I don't know. Maybe they thought she could only do football movies in Georgia or something.
She did Speed with Doofus.
Yeah, but that was early on. Then she did Miss Congeniality, dude. Come on, no. But I mean, I've always liked her. I think I've always enjoyed her performances. I think she has a really, I want to say she has a really shrewd way of interpreting scenes. I like the way she structures her work. I do like the movie. What is it? What's the name of the football movie?
Oh, yeah. I can't. I've never seen it, and it won the Oscar, didn't it? Something Playbooks.
Something. No. Silver
Linings Playbook. That's it.
No. That is not Sandra Bullock. That is Jennifer.
Oh, you're right. That's J-Law. Damn.
Yes.
You're
Jennifer
right.
Lawrence. I cannot remember it right now, but it was really good. I really liked it. It was a good movie, and it was set.
I can't believe I confused those two. That's hilarious.
It was set in our whole area. It's Chattanooga and Georgia and Atlanta. And he wants to go to the University of Tennessee and all that, or whatever. But anyway, she's really good in that. I agree with you. I don't know why she wasn't on the list sooner, sort of thing. Especially above Sienna Miller and some of those others. I'm going, why wouldn't you go?
Some of them I haven't even heard of.
Yeah. But then again, Scarlett Johansson could put on the little booty shorts kind of thing. That would work for me too. I don't mind that. That would work.
I'm looking for that movie. Sorry, and I don't see
Clooney?
it. But anyway, yeah, we'll get back.
Tell me all about Clooney.
All right, let's go back to Clooney. Before Clooney was, of course, I just mentioned Robert Downey Jr. He left the project, I guess, probably for the same reasons that it was taking so long. And others considered for the role were Daniel Craig, Tom Cruise. Ugh.
You would not like it like that.
Tom Hanks, Harrison Ford, John Travolta, Bruce.
God.
See, this is the Me Too movement. It's all these old white guys: Bruce Willis, Russell Crowe, Kevin Costner, and Denzel Washington. It's like a bunch of big names. And I mean, Clooney's a big name now, but I mean, he's got TV roots, as does Bruce Willis. I
The
can't,
Blind Side
and
is the
Tom
name of the
Hanks
movie.
for that matter.
Yeah.
But I can't see Tom Cruise doing this. I can't see Harrison Ford doing this, or Russell Crowe.
Well, the thing I like about Clooney is Clooney to me has always been an actor who is a star and kind of always has that machismo cocky attitude to him, but there's a sincerity underneath it.
It's self-deprecating humor mostly.
Yeah, you don't get that from Tom Cruise. You know, if both of them had the line, "Aren't I good looking?" or "What color are my eyes?" You know, one of them could say that. They could both say it cocky, but one of them, to me, Clooney has a sincerity underneath it that is believable, whereas Cruise doesn't.
Well, it's also charming. It's flirtatious. It's like five or six things at once. Whereas you have Kevin Costner deliver that line, it's going to be flat.
Oh, yeah.
There's no depth at all.
No, I agree.
So I don't know how Daniel Craig would have done it. But.
Well, see, there's not. Daniel Craig has just had such a hard edge to him. You know, even when I watched him in that freaking Knives Out movie, he's got a hard edge to him all the way through that movie.
Right. I tell you how to nip this in the bud is the only other person that could have the same depth of character that Clooney gives those lines is Robert Downey Jr. I could see Robert Downey Jr. doing it too.
Yes. Yeah, I could too.
But it's in that long list of people, only him or Clooney. I don't see any of those other guys doing it really.
Yeah. I mean, I've always equated Clooney similar to like a Sean Connery. You know, they're very good looking people. They're very charismatic, but there's also a sincerity underneath them. There's also sincerity is the best word for it, I think, underneath.
A quality.
A quality. Money, partner. Don't be stupid.
Yeah, he's been on the brain. He died not too long ago.
The Blind Side is
The Blind Side. Yes.
Yeah. But you know, looking back at hers, you know, I remember her also in what was the other one? Not Miss Congeniality. 28 Days. I thought she was great in that.
What? 28 Days?
28 Days. Practical Magic.
What was 28 Days?
28 Days is the one where she plays the alcoholic. She has to go to in-treatment therapy. So she's supposed to stay in this place for 28 days.
Well, and she's since done Bird Box, and she's really good in that too.
Yeah.
Considering she's blindfolded almost the entire movie. Yeah, I have a mad respect for her. Yeah. And then there's no other casting news other than the fact that, like you said, Ed Harris played Mission Control, and he was, of course, in The Right Stuff, which is another astronaut movie.
Well, and before that, I mean, after that, Apollo 13.
Oh, correct.
He actually, you know, plays Mission Control.
Yeah.
I mean, in
other
Apollo
words,
13.
he's been typecasted.
Well, he's fine with that. But then he also, you know, did Westworld, so he broke that mold really bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And he's been underwater.
Yeah.
With James Cameron.
Never again.
Did you notice at the end of this film, under the special thanks, it had Guillermo del Toro and James Cameron and a few well-known names in the special thanks? I thought that was interesting.
They're all like a little cadre of those movie makers, the same way Lucas, Spielberg, Milius, all of them were at their time. That's why I thought was very interesting when, you know, when Del Toro won for Shape of Water.
Right.
You know, it was a huge, like, Latino, you know, award year that year.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And he's Mexican. So there's a lot of stuff related to Mexico as far as him, because I've always been a big fan of Pedro Almodovar, but he is Spanish and it's totally different, you know.
Yes, true. There's that. What have I got just from otherwise notes for this? I think the pacing of this movie is really great. I do think it starts off with such a slow balletic kind of feel to it, and then just doesn't stop. It just
It starts with that arm she's on, and it just doesn't let up.
No, it does not. I mean, I love some of his beautiful scenes in it. I love her finally taking the whole spacesuit off and everything, and she goes almost into like that fetal position.
Yeah, it's very artsy.
It's such a very beautiful shot, and all
it's
the
similar to
cables
your hurricane shot. It's very symbolic. Yeah.
And all the cables around her look like an umbilical cord, kind of thing. I like the audio editing, and the audio work in this movie is brilliant. The fact that the times when they have sounds and when they don't have sounds, the use of her breath for a lot of it, which for a key to me is very 2001, 2010. Both those movies, when it goes into the astronaut's POV, you just hear them breathing. And it adds to me to the suspense and the tension of the scenes or everything else. I love all the CGI visuals are awesome.
Well, and that's where most of their awards went.
I saw in the documentary that every single cloud you see on Earth was hand painted. So they didn't just take a snapshot of Earth and superimpose it. I mean, those were created scenes and everything else.
I thought I know it's CGI, but some of it was so beautiful that I felt like I could almost see into the ocean, like the depth of it.
Yeah, it was so brilliantly done, and just smart stuff too, and little things, like two little things. Another little thing I noticed, but nothing I read about that I thought was cool was they say there's one shot. It's either Kowalski or Ryan, but when you see the reflection in their helmet, you see the reflection of a camera crew, a boom operator and a camera operator in space.
I read that.
And I had read that was actually a gaffe that Cuaron wanted in there
as a joke,
intentionally, as a joke, to make people think he filmed it in space,
in outer space. Which is hilarious to me. It's like, oh yeah, we were out here filming. You can see the camera crew and the reflection.
But like little other stuff, like when Kowalski is tugging Ryan, and he finally gets her to open up about where she's from in Illinois or wherever, the Lake Tahoe or whatever, like Lake Placid, whatever, one of the lakes, wherever she's from.
It was Zurich. No, it was was it Zurich?
Yeah, Lake Zurich.
It was either that or a lake in Zurich, because when she said it, I thought she's talking Switzerland for a second, but it's
no, because she was talking about Illinois. And he looks at his space watch, and he says, "Oh, so it's about 8 o'clock there. What would you be doing at 8 o'clock?" Well, in the scene where they are, it would be 3 o'clock in Saudi Arabia, and that's where they're over on the Earth at that time.
I was going, okay, for that kind of technical.
Little details like that. I was going, oh my God, that is just really freaking cool. I do think, I do have to admit, because this is like my fourth watch of this movie, I have to kind of admit that it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. It's huge explosion, lots of things, get out of that situation. Oh my God, huge explosion, lots of things, get out of that situation. And finally, huge explosion, lots of things, the Chinese ship going down, get out of that situation. And I was going, okay, is that too much? Is that one too many cascade events?
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of poetic license in there for a couple of reasons. One is to have a little bit of balance with the script, but another is to give your audience some relief. You know, can they be on a ride that doesn't have plateaus that level out for a minute? You know what I'm saying?
No, I think, and I agree with that. What I'm saying is the repetition of the cascade of
catastrophic
debris,
stuff.
Should it have been something else for that third act? Should it have been a different failure or issue or something rather than the cascade? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think they almost hinted at that because the station was losing altitude. You know, that's one of the big things she said was, in a few minutes, the station will burn up. I've got to get to escape pod, the Chinese Shenzhen. I've got to get to it before it blows up, or before it goes into, burns up. So maybe in retrospect, I don't have that own gripe. Maybe I'll just forget that. It works for me.
It works for me. I mean, and it's more plausible than keeping a bus above 50 miles an hour or whatever and jumping a friggin' break in the highway ramp or whatever. That's crazy. I can go on to awards real quickly.
Before that, I was also going to
Sure.
show you that this movie does have one of the best jump scares in any movie, and it's not a horror movie.
I'm trying to think of what it is.
When they first, we think she's gone. Clooney rescues her. He uses the jetpack to get her back to the space station. I mean, to the orbiter.
He's towing her, and she's sick.
Space shuttle down,
yeah.
Right? And they pull up to the cockpit, and you see the little Martian. We've been being cute space modulator,
Oh.
And all of a sudden, that woman's body goes, wow. I mean, it's just like Jaws, man. It scares the bejesus.
Yeah, that's a great key, actually. It is very Jaws-ish, but it also reminds me of Planet of the Apes when they see the shriveled woman in the thing because she's been exposed to space or actually her oxygen ran out or something. But yeah. I'm gonna put that in there.
Yeah, it was very dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, it is scary. And then she sees more than one dead person, doesn't she?
Yeah, and then when she looks in, she sees the rest of the crew.
Yeah, because I was thinking
there would be 7 of them.
I was when I was watching them do their space ballet or whatever, I kept thinking, there's no one else in this movie. I guess they're just up there by themselves. I had forgotten that there was a crew in there, and you can hear them talking, but sometimes you think it's Earth, or control talking and not the ship.
Right.
You don't realize, you get it kind of confused. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's just right there, boom, floating. Like,
and you would think I would remember that. As far as awards, this movie won, I think, 7 Oscars, including cinematography, director, editing, score, sound editing, and sound mixing. Which I didn't realize those were 2 separate things, but I guess they are. Oh, I'm sorry, and I left out visual effects. It won visual effects too. It was a nominee, however, for Best Picture, Best Actress, and Production Design, which I'm kind of shocked. I can't remember what won that year, and I'm not going to even worry about it. But as far as Golden Globes, it won Director, and again was nominated for Picture, Actress, and Score. It was a BAFTA winner of Cinematography, Sound, Visual Effects, and Director, and a nominee for Screenplay, which I thought was kind of interesting. Film.
It was nominated for Screenplay, but it didn't win?
Right. Actress, Editing, and Production Design. So this is an unusual case where England did not give us the awards that were shunned by the Oscars and Golden Globes. So really, BAFTA didn't give it much more either. Actually gave it less. But I will mention that it is on a certain list. Yeah, it is on. It's in the book by Steven Schneider, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. I would say you need to see it at least twice, maybe 3 times. So.
Yeah, I think you should several times.
So that's what I have as far as awards. I don't have a lot of, maybe I do, but I think you've already talked about some of the trivia stuff.
Okay, this says that Sandra Bullock lost out to Kate Blanchett from Blue Jasmine. Has anybody ever seen freaking Blue Jasmine?
No, I
nobody.
Haven't. Jasmine's white. It's not blue, I think. It's a flower.
Why would you even do that? That was, and then Best Picture went to 12 Years a Slave.
That's right. I did read that.
That has to be, and we need to look at, I bet that's one of the few times that a movie has won that many and not won Best
Was
Picture.
that around the time of Oscars So White? Maybe that's why.
Maybe. Matthew McConaughey won for actor. Supporting actor went to Jared Leto. Supporting actress went to Lupita Nyong'o for 12 Years a Slave.
Right. I think that was around the time of Oscars So White.
Yeah, that's when they were having that. And that's, well, it was probably.
I mean, after that and after Me Too, there started being a surge of Black folks winning and women winning. And I'm not saying that as a white privileged male. I'm just saying it's true.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it's, well, I have no problem with it. There's an underlying theme about the creation of life. You mentioned the fetus thing, but apparently the end with her emerging from the ocean is symbolic as well.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because it's like, the first amphibians coming out of the water.
Yep.
I thought that was interesting too. And then I also had made note of that thing you said about the reflection of the camera crew.
Well, I liked, sound editing stuff. Like even there at the end, when the capsule is starting to sink and she's gasping. And as soon as the camera or her go underwater, you don't hear anything. It just goes, and then back and nothing, just little stuff like that is really good.
It heightens the suspense.
I liked the one shot he chose where he's going from so far away and then he goes all the way in and goes past her helmet line all the way to her eye and then turns the camera on and sees what she sees. And we see the rotation change because now suddenly her POV and all the audio changes. Her voice sounds different. It doesn't sound like it's on a radio anymore. It sounds like she's right there and her breathing is normal. And then the camera, when you think, oh, now a normal guy would just cut here. No, he starts and he pulls back away and all of it changes again. I go, golly, it's got some great cinematography. Definitely deserved the Oscar.
What's Mr. Cuaron working on right now?
I do not know what he's working on right now. I know that he has collaborated with Del Toro on a couple of things. They're kind of like Tarantino and Rodriguez were.
Is Cuaron Mexican too? I think he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I read that. Yeah. I was just looking really quickly because it might be interesting if he's got another major project coming out.
Yeah, I would definitely watch it.
As far as keys, one of the first ones I had was also 2001. Because it's so pretty, the way things are filmed, especially in the beginning with all the floating around and stuff. It just reminded me of 2001.
Well, and to your point, just the clarity. I mean, 2001 was shot in 70 millimeter. This one was not, but it looks like it is. The CGI is so good and detailed and clear. Even that opening shot, because we just basically see the Earth. In our typical, Earth's over half the frame kind of look. And we hear them talking very, very faintly far off, and they're getting louder and louder. And then we suddenly realize there's a dot way over here, and the dot starts coming, and that's them. And I was going, oh my gosh.
And I watched it with subtitles and probably didn't the first time because Dennis can't stand subtitles. Because I was wanting to know what they were saying. I could not hear. And then they don't have any subtitles for some of that at the beginning. It's supposed to be indecipherable. And then eventually you start seeing them as he gets closer.
Yeah.
I don't, I looked what he's doing. The only thing he's announced that he's doing a TV series called Ascension, which is the title of an X-Files episode. He did something called Roma. And he did the
Roma
pilot.
was nominated.
Okay, that was 2018. So really the only thing he's tied to is Ascension since then.
Yep.
They've announced A Boy and His Shoe, but that's a screenplay he wrote. That's not a directing project. So anyway, he's one to keep your eye on. I told you I liked E2 Mama Tambien, and then we've done Children of Men, and now we've done this. I think that's enough right there to say, that he has earned his place in the genre of science fiction.
I mean, he's quoted as saying this movie, when he was writing it with his son and everything else, the movie is about overcoming adversity and the fact that each little step along the way, there's some kind of adversity that, whether it's big or small, that she has to overcome. Even down to, and in the documentary, when he's talking about it, one of the things I liked was the shot when he was saying that, the shot they were showing was where she was unscrewing the tether, and we already know she used to drop her tools when she was on Earth, because she said she did. And she lets go of it, and she's tugging on it, and the thing starts floating away, and she literally has to jump and grab it from the camera and pull it back. He's talking about even the smallest of adversity she has to overcome in order to survive. And Clooney has said it's a survival story and about the choice to survive, because you could just like she does, you could just turn your oxygen off.
I know, it's my book does that too.
Yep.
my key is my book.
It's my book.
It's just in a zombie world, but it's very similar. There's a lot of parallel motifs going on there.
Yep.
I have a few other keys. One of which I'm trying to decide which one I wanted first. All right. We mentioned Planet of the Apes. I said, with the dead body scaring you. Did you know that it's filmed at the same lake in Arizona that was used for the astronaut crash in Planet of the Apes?
Yes, it is.
That's awesome. I mean, that is so cool.
And that is a definite cool key. That is just cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it's filmed in the same place Taylor crashed.
That ship that was triangular and kind of jutted out. Yeah. Alfonso has said himself that he was inspired by a film I've never seen, but you know me, I go back and watch really old movies, so I will try to find it. It is called Marooned, and it was set in Earth orbit, but did not have. I don't know.
Gregory Peck.
Oh, you know what? I think it does have Gregory Peck, actually. I think I did look it up.
I cannot believe I didn't get that key. Oh my God, that is this movie.
It said it doesn't have the CGI, but that it's basically in Earth's orbit. Same thing.
Right. Now we got to keep it in the key, because that may be why it has the hurricane too. Marooned is about astronauts that are marooned in space, and the guy has to go do a rescue mission. The only way he can do the rescue mission is to time it perfectly to launch his ship in the eye of a hurricane as it goes over Cape Canaveral, and then go and rescue them. And it's the same way. It's got James Caan is in that movie too. James Caan's one of the astronauts.
Yeah, I think I looked it up, but I had never heard of it, so I didn't.
Oh, it's a good movie. That I forgot. That should have been on.
I think it's kind of weird that they have to shoot a rocket off in the eye of a hurricane. That sounds kind of stupid.
Well, because of the timing, they're going to run out of oxygen unless they do it, because they're marooned up there.
Okay.
So it's a good movie, good suspense. But I still think that was a TV movie though. I've only seen it on television, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked it up. I just assumed it was a feature film that didn't do well. And then you also mentioned Avatar, which we wouldn't have this film if we had not made the leaps in CGI technology that we made, or that, should I say, James Cameron made in Avatar. Did you have any other keys? I'm looking at your movie now. It's directed by John Sturges. It's got Gregory Peck, Richard Crenna, David Jansen, James Franciscus.
Yes, James
Wasn't he in a Planet of the Apes? And Gene Hackman.
Yep. Good movie.
Yeah, I don't see James Caan. Maybe you're confusing me
Maybe
with
I was
James
thinking of James
Franciscus.
Franciscus. I must have.
Who was in the sequel to Planet of the Apes, wasn't he?
Yes, Beneath.
Oh, Lee Grant's in it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a 70s
it's
movie.
not got a TV cast. It's got a major motion picture cast.
All right. So it must have been major motion picture and I just missed it. Huh.
Yeah, it won an Oscar.
So I've got all of the typicals. I've got 2001, 2010, like you said, Apollo 13, The Martian. And I don't know because my headset went out. Did you mention, you said Avatar?
I did.
I think my keys are like a double key. I don't think this movie would have been able to be possible without Avatar. And I think this movie heavily influenced The Mandalorian in the technology. So they changed the whole cube that Sandra Bullock was in to an entire sound stage and instead made it, basically an LED wall and ceiling and floor that then they could control the environment in. So none of the, if you watch Mandalorian, it is choreographed camera move to actor to the background for parallax view. And it's so cool the way they do it. You should watch the documentary on how they do that. It's pretty amazing. But so many other people are starting to do that now, especially with COVID and everything else. So many people are starting to utilize that technology to tell their stories rather than CGI or superimposing or whatever. Basically, you can have the actor there. He's got a huge wall of television screen behind him, and they put the sunrise on that. And then he starts walking. The background moves, the camera doesn't, but it looks like he's walking. So it looks like you're on location, but you're not on location.
Weird.
It's really cool the way they do stuff. But that's what I have on mine. And then my last one was a little personal one for me, which was Sandra Bullock when she puts on the Chinese spacesuit. It has 42 on it.
Oh.
And 42 is the
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah. I've got another one now that I think about it, and it's Alien. Because of her outfit underneath her spacesuit is very skimpy, like Ripley's. It's just
There's nothing wrong with that at all. You're saying that like it was a bad thing. Those were both
I'm not.
genius.
I'm just pointing it out.
Those were both brilliant moves by the entire production team. But yeah, that's probably another not realistic element. She probably would not have that on underneath her suit. She would probably have on I think they wear like full body suits underneath their spacesuits.
Yeah, but she had to look like a baby.
Well, yeah.
In her little fetal position.
Another reason for cutting her hair too. So you don't have to worry about gravity, literal gravity when you're shooting the film because of her hair.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
That's why a lot of times
I like that the Indian guy that's so annoying because he's jumping up and down while they're trying to do their work or whatever.
Yeah.
I like when she sees him and his face has got to be a hole in it.
So that needs to be just your tagline for this podcast episode. I like it when his face has a big hole in it.
Well, he was pissing me off because he kept jumping around, and then all of a sudden, he's dead, man. His face froze, and someone put a hole in it. Jason X
gone. Which again is like Red Planet. If you watch that movie, that's how one of the characters dies in it. He gets a piece of a bolt goes through his spacesuit and through his face. It goes right through it.
Damn.
Gone.
Sucks to be him.
That fast. Yes.
All right. So, well, what else do we have to say about this movie? Because
we have to say it's a good movie. Watch it. Go see it.
Watch this fucking movie.
Watch it and watch it now. Really enjoy it. It's good. No, it is. It deserved all the Oscars it got. I think it probably should have had Best Actor and Best Movie, Best Actress and
actress. Yeah, I mean Clooney's great, but I don't know that it warrants supporting or not.
No. And I guess to all of you out there listening to us, we want to thank you for listening to us, and
Yes.
for we'd like to ask you to just take a minute to subscribe, or give us a little thumbs up, or a little star rating there, or even a little review, even a one sentence saying liked it, great.
Yeah, or send us an email, and if you have
whatever.
any suggestions for future projects. If you're watching us for the first time on YouTube, which is kind of frightening when you think about it, go down a little lower and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell.
Yes.
And and actually, we never said anything at the beginning, but we're happy to be back. We hope everyone had happy holidays. We are in the month of January now.
Yes,
and we will be back next week with something from the horror genre.
Something creepy and spooky.
Something very creepy.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thank you, David. Bye.
Bye.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.